Hello and welcome to the Spanish Grand Prix for Moto3. And I'm a commentator, Megan Birch, but I will be handing over most of this commentary to TNT because I am very not informed this weekend for this so far. Also, nicer. Right, so the race will start in approximately 6 minutes' time, and I believe I shall throw over quite near of a time for this. So before that, I shall not read through the timings because honestly I am not quite sure about those. So I will run through what some of the problems that may be faced today in this Grand Prix for Moto3. Now, as we see with the MotoGP lot, turn 6 seems to be a problem for everyone, so this could be one to watch. I mean, this is the first proper full race that we will experience here at this track this weekend, as far as I believe. And it will be a testament to whether there'll be a lot of red flags later on in the other two races today from Moto2 and MotoGP. I think round about now is a good time to hand over to TNT as well.
Unsettle him, because he knows if he gives Rueda 1 or 2 laps at the front, he can check out. So it's going to be a really interesting race.
OK, let's hop back to the 4th row. We can talk to Luca Lunetta.
Luca, it's been a bit of a tricky weekend for you so far. Now you're here, ready and set to go. What is the plan?
Yes, it started a little bit difficult the weekend on Friday, but we managed to recover a little bit on Saturday, and today it's another story. Today is the day that counts and to get the points. So I'm ready to fight. It will be a fun race, especially with these fans so special. So ready to fight and to enjoy.
Good luck, thank you.
Yeah, great atmosphere around this circuit. That's the scene here for Moto3, the crowd anticipating some good scraps, hopefully, today. Adrian Fernandez goes from the 2nd row of the grid, Sylvain. A scrapper.
Yeah, a scrapper, definitely. And he's going to need to scrap as well with the bunch of KTMs in front and behind him. The Honda is probably not the best package around here. You know, it's a very much of a stop-and-go track. So the KTM have been really strong with that ability that they've got in the track braking phase. So for Fernandez, he's going to have to get stuck in. We know, though, that he's a fierce fighter. So let's see what he can do. But I think on the bike side, I think he's a little bit at a disadvantage on this track.
OK, let's go towards the back of the grid, David Munoz territory. Scott Ogden is there, got penalised during this session yesterday. Session got cancelled because the team used the wrong engine. Let's find out how he's feeling.
Scott, it was such a tricky weekend. We saw what happened in qualifying. We thought you were really smart doing what you did, went out without everyone else, didn't end too well. So how difficult does that make this race?
Yeah, it makes it difficult, especially for me. I struggle in the first laps, but it's a good day to practice that. I'm going to try my best to be a magnet with Munoz and try follow him through it. At the end of the day, I honestly think I have top 5 pace if I was starting there. I showed it yesterday morning, so yeah, just got to work through. If I can get some points, get a top 10 would be amazing.
Good luck, Scott.
Thank you.
Well, he could just hook in behind David Munoz and slipstream his way through, couldn't he?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, because sometimes you get someone like Munoz, what happens is it's the aftermath of Munoz. As he dive bombs people, it does create room. So, I mean, Scott's open and honest there. His weak points are the opening lap. So, and he's right in what he says. When you start from the back of the grid, it's an area of your game that you can really work on and focus on. So, and I truly believe he's got top 5 pace. So you never know. If Rueda doesn't get the lead and check out, because that will stretch the field. If that doesn't happen, it could be a big group, and Scott could close in. Let's hope he can.
Absolutely, fingers crossed. Here's the scene then, here in Jerez de la Frontera, our opener for the day. We're kicking off, as always, with Moto3. Angel Piqueras on the front row, Joel Kelso and Jose Antonio. Rueda is in pole position, and Love is alongside Gaff.
Thank you very much, Susie. Yep, sold out at Spain, and a home hero, Jose Antonio Rueda, in charge so far, but Angel Piqueras alongside him on the front row. Who knows, sparks could fly here in front of their home fans. The Young Guns ready for battle here in Spain. Good morning from Jerez de la Frontera. It's the Grand Prix of Spain in Moto3, round 5 of the championship, and the stage is set for what should be, hopefully, a thrilling Moto3 showdown. Jose Antonio Rueda has ruled the weekend, really. Starts from pole and looking to get back that title lead he lost in Qatar. But Joel Kelso and Angel Piqueras right there alongside him. Of course, Piqueras leads the championship after 4 rounds, 2 wins apiece. Alvaro Carpe heads up the second row of the grid. There have been a few penalties handed out, one of them to Jacob Ralston. That was for riding slow through one sector, so he gets actually a long lap penalty. And then if you go further down through the order, Ruche Moodley, keep an eye on the South African. He's been good this weekend. His teammate, Kiwi Cormac Buchanan, lines up on the 6th row of the grid alongside Noah Detwiller, who's another one to have a penalty. He's going to have to do a long lap. And then we get all the way back to Eddie O'Shea. We saw Scott Ogden there in 23rd. Eddie O'Shea from Michael's team on row 9 in 25th. But behind him, David Munoz. I love what Neil said. He's had the penalty put to the back of the grid for slow riding online. Could be a penalty for everyone else, Michael, because that's his race, isn't it? It's going to be charging through. At the other end of things, Jose Antonio Rueda almost certain to try and pull away early.
Yeah, the speed we've seen from Rueda this weekend, he can control the race. I don't think he's going to go from the outset, though. He typically, these Pirellis like to be gently loaded initially, brought up to temperature, and then worked in the latter laps. Rueda's done it to great effect already this year. In Thailand especially, controlled it and then dropped the hammer when he needed to. I can see a similar tactic from him today, but if he gets a gap on his pit board, we've seen it yesterday, even in qualifying, he was able to drop the group essentially, which is difficult to do in Moto3. But then you've got Munoz at the back. He is going to be coming through. He's going to be attacking. Scott's looking out for him to try and weld himself to the rear wheel of Munoz, and he will lever a few doors open, no doubt. But it's going to be an exciting race. It always is around here in Moto3 at Jerez.
Adrian Fernandez, another one of those who will be hoping to get stuck in early on. He looked ragged earlier in the weekend. They seem to have ironed out a few problems they've had with that Leopard and all the Hondas actually this weekend. So expect fireworks, and when we see sights like this, we've just been down there, Michael, it is electrifying.
It really is. This section especially, as you come out of turn 8, 9 and 10, it is just going off all day long. As we were stood there this morning after the riders have been round on the parade, and they were still singing, cheering, chanting. It was such a nice feeling down there.
Yeah, when we handed back to Susie, they were even getting our cameraman to jump up and down in time with the crowd. It was just wild, and they would love it, wouldn't they? Look, there's Angel Piqueras. He is the championship leader. As we look at Cormac Buchanan coming through the final corner, they would love a scrap. They come here for the racing. They are racing purists. They don't want someone to escape at the front. They'd love it if it was a Piqueras Rueda head-to-head.
Yeah, I think we'll see it. We saw a great scrap in Red Bull rookies earlier today. Moto3 it makes fantastic racing, but the Jerez racetrack especially, there's so many overtaking opportunities for these little bikes.
I remember Brad Binder winning his first race here, 2016, from the back of the grid. Munoz has that task ahead of him. Rueda has a similar kind of pace that Binder had showed that weekend. Let's see what he can do. Light's about to go out, 19 laps ahead of us. Rueda on pole, Kelso alongside, Angel Piqueras breathing down their neck. A big home crowd energy bouncing off the grandstand. Penalties and drama already have shaped the grid. Anything can still happen here. Strap yourselves in. We're ready to start the action in Spain. 19 laps on this circuit in Moto3, and we are underway. It's a good start from Jose Antonio Rueda. Little bit of a wheelie as he goes up through the box, actually. Coming under pressure, though, from Angel Piqueras already. And from the second row of the grid, that's a big lunge from Ryusei Yamanaka. I'm loving Carpe. Around the outside from Alvaro Carpe. He slots into second. Piqueras takes back third. Furusato aggressive on the early laps. Already past Kelso, who's back to sixth. But Furusato up to fifth.
Yeah, aggressive, as you mentioned, from Yamanaka. He's back to fourth, but what a move it was from Carpe, confident around the outside. Likewise, Tayo Furusato, he has got race pace. As always, he comes forward in a Sunday.
I'm trying to look for the black bike of David Munoz up towards the back of the picture. Couldn't quite catch my eye as Furusato lines something up through Sito Pond's corner. It's Rueda leading as expected, but it's up to his teammate here to not play the old tail end gunner. He has to attack his teammate quickly. because they don't want Rueda to escape at the front of this race. Adrian Fernandez pulls to the inside, but unable to take anyone. Someone's got off down in one of the Leopard bikes.
Munoz as well, I think.
Is it Munoz? It's Munoz and Almanza together. They were together on the track. He can't go away from the action. I think that's
Ruchet. I'm not sure.
I think it's Ruchet. Pretty sure it's Ruchet Moodley that's gone down. I'm so sorry for the South African. He's had a brilliant weekend. And David Munoz involved in another incident. I don't know what's happened. I'm not going to surmise now. We haven't seen it. But he, Almanza and Moodley have crashed out. I think Munoz was trying to rejoin.
Yeah, we need to see it, obviously, but this is the problem with Munoz from the back of the grid. He's always going to have to take risks on the early laps to get through. But yeah, we'll reserve judgment until we see the incident.
Absolutely. Cormac Buchanan's made a good start, actually. He was up into 13th place. At the front, though, no doubt about your leader. And this is where he's going to try and stretch his legs. This is where he's going to try and break them now as he sets off on his first flying lap. Has the run up towards turn 1, and it was in qualifying, you mentioned it, as Kelso attacked Furusato. He had a group of riders behind him like this, and he just went. Whether he can do the same when he's looking after his tyres for the end of the race is a different matter, but he has got a higher pace.
He knew he had a 2-lap time attack, so he just went out there and absolutely abused the Pirelli rear tyre. Everyone on the grid, it is...
That's Riccardo Rossi. It's been a rotten weekend for him as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, been some speed, but a few technical difficulties, missed sessions, and unfortunately out on lap 1. So yeah, Riccardo Rossi's weekend doesn't get any better.
It looks like Vicente Perez as well, who's in as a replacement for Bertelle, has also crashed out. I don't know whether the yellow flag's still out as we drop down towards turn 6. I doubt it, because Angel Piqueras is making moves, and he goes through on Carpi. It's a Spanish 1-2-3 here in the Spanish Grand Prix in Moto3. Still Rueda leads, and now we get those long lap penalties for Peroni, Ralston and Detmiller will be coming up on their dashboards.
It's a good lap for Joel Kelso. He made the move into turn 1 on Furusato. He's just getting across to this gaggle with Piqueras getting lively down the inside at turns 9 and entering the complex.
Even if Rueda doesn't escape, what he's doing here is he's breaking them up, isn't he?
3 and
Joel Esteban's
4.
tumbling down the order, I believe. He's gone out. Oh, another crash in the park, and that's Cormac Buchanan. So both of the Densi Boa riders have gone.
That's a shame. Cormac after a good start. Ruchet having such a fantastic weekend, so massive shame for the Boa team, but they'll be back to fight again in Le Mans in 2 weeks' time.
Credit to Scott Ogden. Whatever he was doing about following David Munoz, who has rejoined, but Ogden's up to 14th, 13th place
Esteban
now
has
as they come up to the
crashed,
line.
and
So with Esteban crashing out, it's all helping
Buchanan
those
is
riders
also
behind.
down.
So fair play to Ogden.
Yeah, actually, he's 4 seconds off the leader, which is Rueda. You can see it. Scott just coming into shot. So the group, actually, there's a few little gaps in amongst it.
All
but there's a few
riders
riders detached.
I'm sorry to see that for
rejoined.
Buchanan. He has been actually behind his teammate a little bit this weekend, but he's rejoining. There's going to be a bit of gravel actually being dropped on the track. Look at this at the front, Michael, from the heli. Rueda is stretching them, and the only person it looks like who can go with him is the championship leader, Angel Piqueras.
Angel Piqueras struggled a little this weekend. I didn't see this coming from him today, but such a good racer. He knows the way to potentially beat Rueda today is to ruffle his feathers early on, so expect to see a move before too long. Look at this, in the braking zone. He's able to gain back a bike length. He'll be attacking him before the end of the lap. That's how Piqueras rides.
Yeah, and if he does get within striking distance, he will strike. Mark my words. Although, again, through the faster sectors, that's where Rueda's strong, isn't he? He's carrying another few kilometres an hour of corner speed. Right, we're looking for Munoz further back. Look for the blue Almanza bike. Yeah, oh, it's Almanza. Oh, it's Moodley then. It's got completely out of shape. It was Almanza on Munoz. Munoz was turning in. Almanza on his inside, and then Moodley just took them both out.
Oh, Moodley lost the front earlier, so he's locked the front end and then just barreled into both. I apologise, David Munoz. I did think you were maybe the aggressor in this instance. Unfortunately, it was... he was a victim.
Yeah, you don't know what's been going on further up there, but he looked like he was, in front, and Almanza then lifting him up, and in turn, Ruchet's got it completely wrong there. Jacob Ralston, I think, has just done his long lap penalty. Fastest rider on circuit, though, talking of Aussies, is Joel Kelso in 4th.
Yeah, Joel's looked good. Well, actually, all 4 of the opening rounds have looked good for Joel, and this weekend, stealthily gone about his business, turned in some good lap times yesterday, and he's looking aggressive here. So fastest lap, 44.7. That's impressive at this stage in the race.
3rd in the championship, Joel Kelso. After 4th in Qatar, 2nd in the USA. He was 8th in Argentina, but he was in the front group again, and similarly in Thailand. where things didn't quite go to plan, but has always been in that front group.
Yeah, definitely made a step this year. We were slightly critical of Joel at times last year. Always fast, but lacked a bit of pace in the latter laps. He seems to have put that right, and he's got all the attributes now to be consistent at every single racetrack.
On board we ride, looking back from Joel Kelso's machine at Ryusei Yamanaka in 6th spot. Rueda, though, just managing to do his own pace at the front, and whatever he's done, he's thinned the group out. We've seen big 20 rider groups here before in the past, and this is, Piqueras is just labouring a little bit to stick with Rueda at the moment.
Yeah, the pace being set by Rueda, obviously he's got a little more left if he needs to. It's just difficult, obviously, looking at the move there from Carpace, having a look around. I think they've already accepted their fate here. They can't go with Jose Antonio Rueda today. He's just put enough of a gap that I don't think Piqueras can attack him.
Kelso and Yamanaka thought about attacking Carpe. I think it's the right thing to do at the moment. It's just try and stay wheels astern and stay in as much as you can to get the train and try and follow Rueda as much as possible. But he's imposing a pace at the front again. Kelso fastest on the circuit, and he takes that as his cue to pass Carpe and go up into 3rd spot.
Could Joel have something here? He's working hard to get across, and maybe he feels he's got the pace to match Rueda. It is 2 laps in a row where he set the fastest lap of the race, just fractionally faster than Jose Antonio.
One thing that's going to come into play here, Rueda's gone with a soft rear tyre, and Furusato as well with a soft rear tyre, as has Fernandez, whereas all the others, Piqueras, Kelso, Carpe, Yamanaka, the medium option.
Weirdly, I missed that. I scanned across the grid. There's not many soft tyres, and didn't actually notice the pole man had one on. That's an interesting move from Rueda to have the confidence that he's going to go all the ways. Perhaps he's confident in that knowledge, but maybe he does need to put a bit of a gap in at this stage in the race.
Yeah, then you think, is that the tactic? And then if Kelso's matching him, Kelso's gone with the softer front tyre. It's just going to be interesting as this race develops. Still a long, long way to go. Cormac Buchanan is down to his garage, and he's saying, should I go back out? And I think that's going to be a retirement for the Kiwi. You see Yamanaka in behind Carpe. Carpe just unable to match Kelso over this lap. I think Yamanaka starting to think, perhaps I need to dispose of the rookie up towards the final corner. I thought Furusato was going to have a go at his compatriot as well there. Top Honda in 6th place with Adrian Fernandez and Guido Pini do a good job in 8th. Then there's a 2-second gap back to Luca Lunetta, Peroni and Scott Ogden, who's had an excellent ride from the second last row of the grid. As finally we see that move from Yamanaka, and Furusato needs no second invitation with Carpe on the high part of the curve.
Yeah, it looks like Carpe's struggling. He's labouring ever so slightly. Furusato wasting no time. Kelso with another fastest lap on the previous circulation, likewise Piqueras, so the lead 3 are up in the ante every time around.
Yeah, they were both, Piqueras and Kelso, 10th and a half quicker than Rueda, so they are responding to the Spanish rider. What is it, though, that Rueda's doing or has done this weekend?
It's difficult to pinpoint. He looks strong in every area, whether it's braking, turning, accelerating. How he stops it down into there, you can see a little bit of slide from the rear. It's drifting over onto the curbs on the outside, but he never goes wide. He always is pinpoint accurate in the braking zones, and he's able to just keep such a rhythm. It's like David Alonso 1 year ago around here in practice. He had such a pace, but he crashed out pushing too hard early doors, whereas no mistakes from Rueda so far. The only mistake will be, has he got the right tyre? And that's a good move from Joel Kelso on Angel Piqueras. The young Aussie, he's looking feisty here today.
He's feeling it, isn't he, Joel Kelso today? Maybe he's the one who's going to be able to stick it to Rueda. He has been there or thereabouts throughout the whole racing weekend in terms of positions. Obviously, he was on the front row of the grid in 2nd spot. In free practice, he was 3rd quickest. If you look back over the weekend, and Kelso's put together, he was 4th in the first practice, so it's a funny one for Moto3 because they never actually ride at the time of the race, do they? They either first out or out later on in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. You may get lucky and have temperature conditions similar to what you race in, but it usually is slightly different. Starting at 11 o'clock, we are either 9 a.m. or, like I say, in the afternoon when it is it is typically 5 to 10 degrees hotter. So yeah, sometimes you get a bit of an anomaly in terms of setup and feeling from the tyres. So look, usually these riders have got a good handle on it, what they need to prepare for on race day.
On that last lap, Kelso quicker than Rueda. Kelso 4/10 quicker than Angel Piqueras. I think Piqueras, we have seen it's not looked easy for him this weekend. The beauty of Angel Piqueras is he will not give up, will he? He will get his gravel hook into the back of Kelso's bike if he can and try and stick with him as long as he can, because he knows in a scrap he'll feel stronger.
Exactly, yeah. If he can stay, obviously these are the lead three in the championship, the lead three in the race. They've got a little bit of a gap to the group in front. It's now 1 second back to Yamanaka. I think it could end up this being a podium battle. So Piqueras, if he's in the fight at the end and the SC2, the harder rear option comes to him, perhaps he could have something that, after a tough weekend, if he's in contention for the victory, you got to say full credit to the young Spanish rider.
You also have to say, don't you, to Rueda out front, imposing a pace on this race. That is relentless. We talked about him with the number 99 on, likened him a little bit to the Jorge Lorenzo style, and that's what he's doing in terms of his metronomic performance in lap times.
Yeah, he's had such a rhythm all weekend, and even for the last few rounds, he's been able to control things. You can see the twitch of the front from Piqueras at turn 9. It's not easy for him matching this pace of Kelso and Rueda. You can see he's having to dig deep today. As long as he's got rubber left, though, he will continue to fight all the way to the end.
The little gap opened up now to the chasing back of Yamanaka, Carpe, Furusato. On that last lap, a personal best for Rueda, but still, Kelso and Piqueras were a tiny amount, milliseconds quicker than him, but they were still a bit quicker than him as Rueda's just set personal best lap.
Yeah, I think Rueda's comfy here. It's one of those where you come across the line, see your pit board, and it's staying the same every single lap. As long as he's confident that he can up the pace a little bit, he'll continue to just impose the pace at the front.
Yeah, you saw that wider line there for Piqueras finishing off the corner. You wonder if he's just starting to feel that pace. He's there on the number 36. The 66 is second of Joel Kelso, and then the 99 of Rueda out front. There is the number 6 of Ryusei Yamanaka on the second of the MT Helmets MSI bikes.
Yamanaka's having a good season, isn't he? Every weekend he's thereabouts inside the top 5 throughout. Pretty much been unfortunate, obviously, to not score in both, where was it, America and in Thailand, but he's had a top 10 in Argentina and a podium last time out. It's built into a good season for the Japanese rider.
Yeah, the team stuck with him, didn't they? You didn't know, obviously they were bringing in Angel Piqueras, which is a bit of drama in itself, because he was actually contracted to Leopard, his 3rd team in as many years, well, probably 4th team actually in as many years as regards to Piqueras, but they stuck with Yamanaka. Yeah, that seems to be paying off.
It definitely does, and yeah, it's good to see, because he had a bit of a storied Moto3 career, but everyone believes in his ability, and obviously he's starting to deliver for the squad, which is good. It seems like he and Piqueras are working a bit more together than perhaps in the opening rounds of the season. It seemed like Angel wanted to go his own way in all the practice sessions.
And you see the gap between 3rd and 4th now at 1.5 seconds. It looks like we have our podium battle, but we've watched enough races at Jerez over the years to know it's not quite as simple as that.
No, never a foregone conclusion around here. It's not the most abrasive circuit, but tyres play such a big part. You've been setting lap times all weekend that you can't match today as the temperature goes up, and you put consistent laps in. We're on the 9th lap, but you're still not quite at half distance yet, so you've got to be aware that the front tyre could start to go away. You can start folding here on these long turns like turn 5, the rear getting away from you in the middle of the apex. So yeah, you just got to be a little bit calm at this stage.
Piqueras is not letting go here of Kelso. Kelso in turn just not quite able to get close enough to Jose Antonio Rueda. Soon as he taps the throttle, just pulls the gap back out. Constantina's in, of course, in the braking zones, but then just keeps the roll going, doesn't he? So these 3 out front, and you've got Yamanaka, Furusato, Carpe, Fernandez and Guido Pini. David Munoz is having to pull out, having been taken out on the first lap. Again, one of the other things we were talking about was him coming through and how he might cause problems. He qualified up towards the sharp end. He qualified, he should have been on the front row of the grid. But if you are further back, there is a melee. There's always a battle. There's always something going on, and you put yourself at more risk.
Yeah, for sure. If you're mired in the pack on the opening laps, especially in Moto3, you get dive bombs left, right, and centre. Yeah, it's ruthless out there, as we've seen. Munoz, normally the aggressor, but he got taken out today. So yeah, you always want to keep yourself at the first half of the grid in Moto3. Munoz throughout his career wasn't a fantastic qualifier at Bowie, but he seems to have maybe ironed out that slight kink in his armour, chink in his armour, should I say. And it's the problem is these penalties keep putting him down the grid. But yeah, frustration for him in the Impact GP team because they haven't quite delivered on their promise. Although good for Guido Pino today, the number 94. We haven't seen much of him this season. Started injured, missed the opening, was it 1 or 2 rounds he sat? But yeah, he turned up here actually last year in Junior GP, and he was so fast riding in the Alzamora squad in Junior GP. So he likes Jerez, but we've still not seen the best of the young Italian. He has been through the mill a little bit with injuries of late, and yeah, a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah, he talks about maybe some anxiety with Munoz. Look, Peter Hürtel is the most level-headed person in this paddock, pretty much. Him and Akiayo battle it out for who's missed the call. But we had a really good chat with him, didn't we, back in Qatar? And he was saying it's just a long game. He's going to take a few 10 races or so for him to try and impose this sense of calm for Munoz. And similarly for Pini, he said a lot of the people around him expect Guido Pini. He's battled with Alvaro Carpe and beaten him in junior GP races. You know, he's been there and done that. He's ridden on track with Piqueras, and what Peter Hürtel's quick to point out is, but that's his trajectory. What we believe is this is what you need to be doing, just learning. Yeah. Not getting ahead of yourself, and a bit, not an entourage, but a little few exterior pressures perhaps. Yeah, certainly. Actually, I was wrong. He didn't miss the opening rounds. He missed some testing after his injury, but he came in with a definite expectation on his shoulders, which is hard for a rookie just because of your prowess in Junior GP. It doesn't always naturally translate, and it's taken time to figure out the Grand Prix paddock. And yeah, he's feisty, he's aggressive. We've seen it in rookies, we've seen it in Junior GP, and we just need to give him a little time to find his feet here. When we get to the end of this race, Michael, we are going to have to look at the analysis of Rueda's race, because every single lap is just half a tenth quicker. Yeah. Every time, and he's just set another personal best lap. Matched again by Kelso and Piqueras.
Yellow flag, sector 1.
44.5 now, and it's just constant. It's consistent. Yeah. It's beautiful to watch. Look, it's not classic fairing, bashing, wheel to wheel that one come to expect in Moto3. But it's beautiful in its own respect. It really is. Metronomic in the lap times, because we keep seeing the personal best indicator flash up, but the time's almost identical, so it just shows the consistency. You've watched the overhead shot there in the braking zone to turn 6. Every lap, he's out on the curb on the outside, drifting it in, and just millimetre perfect at the apex. Nicola Carraro's now dropped out of the race. So, unfortunately, he's gone. Just to go through the order, this is your lead. Rueda, Kelso, Piqueras, then Yamanaka, Furusato, Carpe, Fernandez and Pini are in a group for battling for 3rd. For 9th, Lunetta versus Perrone, who's done his long lap. And then for 11th, Ralston, who's done his long lap, is battling with Scott Ogden. So 11th and 12th for the Aussie and the Brit. Then Dennis Foggia. He's never got on with this place. Has he ever scored points around here? Never. Exactly, in his long career. So he's in 13th. Stefano Nepper, 14th. Tachko Boisserie in the last point-scoring position in 15th. They're all riding alone. And then there's a good battle going on. Eddie O'Shea, your man for the Grid M Lav Racing team. Eddie O'Shea 16th with Detwiller 17th. Cruz says 18th. They are switching positions in every corner at the moment. Yeah, it's a good battle between the two guys down there. Unfortunately, obviously, they want to be a little bit higher up. But yeah, just look at the lap times here. Another fastest lap of the race for Jose Antonio Rueda as he goes another, 10th and a bit faster than he did the previous lap around. He's like he was holding something at the start, even though he's got the softer tyre, and it's almost as if he's just judged his pace. He's seeing it clock up on his dashboard, then every single lap he just goes, right, I've got another couple of hundreds for you. And that's the first time over the last few laps that he's actually been quicker than Kelso, quicker than Piqueras. And in fact, it was less than a tenth quicker than Kelso, almost 2 tenths quicker than Piqueras. 7.5 laps to go, which is still away in Moto3, but it does seem like he's confident his tyres are going to stay with him. You can see Piqueras looking a bit more aggressive in the braking zones. Kelso just struggling, I want to say. He's still fast and lapping consistent every time around, but just in this part of the racetrack, it seems like, especially through the left-hander, a bit like Marc Marquez in MotoGP, Rueda's got something where he can just eke out a small margin. On board with Joel Kelso into the stadium section, Angel Nieto corner. Lovely statues to Nieto when I rode round there earlier to go and stand on the infield. You see there's one to Aspar, there's one to Ferrari, there's one to Wakai as well down there. There's all sorts of great little monuments around this racetrack, and it's a fantastic place. They are just starting to lose touch here with Rueda. I think Piqueras senses that. He senses that, doesn't he? He wanted to get through on Kelso. We've seen this Kelso at this stage of the race in the past. I've got a feeling more than anything it's Rueda getting quicker. We'll see as they come across the line now. Another fastest lap of the race from Rueda, another couple of hundreds. This is some rhythm he's imposing at the front, and Piqueras says, look, we can't take this anymore, Joel. We're going to have to go after him. And is Kelso going to fight Piqueras? Does he feel done? Or is he just going to have to let the young Spaniard go and try and chase down the leader?
Yeah, I think Joel's best move now is to see what Piqueras has got. Can he get across the gap? And 0.6 of a second isn't easy because you're starting to lose a little bit of contact. You're losing the draft here on the rundown from 5 to 6. You've got a good braking marker to go in on, but the problem is Rueda is so strong in the brakes and doesn't make any mistakes. Little look back for Kelso. Obviously, he knows now he's got a margin. He's got a podium today. Will he just settle for third, or will he continue to fight all the way to hopefully go for victory at the end?
Yeah, he's got to look forward, hasn't he? He's got to look at Piqueras. A little shake of the head, I thought, there from Kelso. Can Piqueras close that gap? It's gone out to 0.9 of a second on this lap. He had to make the move on Kelso, whose pace is just starting to drop. He saw the front there from Kelso. Oh, look at him turn underneath. Piqueras, is that a mistake from Piqueras there? It must have been.
I think so. Piqueras pushing on. I think he's had a little moment, either a bubble or the front tyre just tucking under. Give the pace back to Kelso, but that just stretches the gap out even further. 1.2 seconds.
Do you think it could be front tyre perhaps for Joel? Because he's gone with the soft front.
Yeah, he's on the soft front tyre. They stand up to the abuse quite well in Moto3, both the soft and the medium. For the choice, it's more down to personal preference. Do you get a bit more steering? Obviously, it will drop off a little bit sooner, but Joel typically does go for the softer front option.
So Kelso back into second place. Piqueras not able to close the gap across the line. It's 1.4 seconds. Another 1:44, 1:44.5 from Rueda. He might have the number 99, but it's not Jorge Lorenzo. He is riding a Jorge Lorenzo style race out front, and he's opening the gap. Piqueras now sliding. He hasn't got it. They haven't got it. They're not going to chase down Rueda here, who is in a class of his own today.
He really is. That's the only rider out there in the 44-second bracket, and it's a 44.5. That is an imposing pace that serious that no one can even get close to him this weekend. He's just had an extra few tenths in his pocket at will.
Over Sito Ponce corner, turn 5, down the hill, on the back straight, down towards Dani Pedrosa corner. Names of the legends of Spanish motorcycling adorning them. Into 6 they go still. Kelso hangs on. Piqueras right in behind him. Gap back to the chasing pack still stands at 3.8 seconds, but they were quicker, the chasing pack, although let's remind ourselves that Kelso and Piqueras swapped positions twice on that previous lap. So we'll just keep an eye on that gap. Stands at 3.7 now, with just under, well, 5.5 to go.
Rueda's changing the face of Moto3 racing this season. We always get a group battle, and this is, what, the 3rd time he's done it already, where he just ekes out a margin at the end of the race. He ups the ante, and no one's got anything to respond.
Needed someone to attack early on, didn't he? Scott Ogden and Jacob Ralston have closed the gap they had to Lunetta and Perrone, and they both got past. So Ralston is now up into 9th place. Scott Ogden up into 11th, just past Lunetta. So they've had a decent ride together.
Yeah, this is good from Scott if he can get inside the top 10 from where he had to start this weekend. He had such good pace yesterday. He was very unfortunate. It's been one of those weekends where the completely not his fault, but just the stars didn't align for him. But yeah, good race to get inside the top 10.
Ooh, it's a bit tight down there at Dani Pedrosa corner as Alvaro Carpe rides through the right leg of Taio Furusato. They're still battling for 4th place. Who knows if it will be a podium if these two do go at it later on. See the different approaches to the Sito Ponce corner there. Look like Piqueras might have been carrying that little bit more entry speed. Does that carry on down the straight? No, it doesn't. Behind, Adrian Fernandez fanning out on the inside has just got Furusato looking to make more moves.
Furusato not as strong as he was in Qatar. I thought when I'd seen him making moves on the opening laps, he was going to get forward into the lead group and be able to make the difference, but it just seems like the Honda hasn't quite got it here this weekend. He and Fernandez, the best of the Hondas, in 6th and 7th, but yeah, a little bit adrift of the pace needed to battle for a podium.
Just want to point out again, Rueda at the front did a 1 minute 44.5. He has done, I mean, it's only a 19 lap race. We've had 14. I mean, there'll have been 1 or 2 tenths either side of that throughout the entire race for Rueda. It is a time trialist dream.
I think it's within about 3, maximum 4 tenths. That has been his spread. You don't get that very often. Obviously, if he sees a big gap in his pit board, he might roll it off at the end. But if you look at the business end of the race, which has been the work that he's done, just so consistent. Again, 44.5. It's like, I've never seen someone so consistent in terms of the bang-on identical lap times, lap on lap. It is such an impressive rhythm.
I feel like you'll speak to him after the race, and this is going to be one of those where he's flying above the bike and he doesn't, doesn't feel like he's on it. It's going to be because he just, it's rhythm, isn't it? It's rhythm that he's got out there, and he's just hitting his mark every time. He opens up the corner, he's high up on the curb, so he's not too high. Everything is just inch perfect from Rueda in this race. It's an impressive ride. Of course, let's not forget Rueda is a local lad from just up the road in Seville, where they had the Spanish Copa del Rey last night between Barca and Madrid. So it's only an hour up the road. He will have a lot of people supporting him to take victory here today, the Andalusian.
Yeah, always good here at Jerez, even in his junior GP career. I think when you look at his past, he's equally a rival for David Alonso, for the guys who stepped up to Moto2 this year. I think he's been a bit of a slower burn. Obviously missed a few races last year and sort of derailed his championship campaign, but what a performance we're seeing from him to this point already in the season. Moto2 teams will be after his signature.
Joel Kelso, after having a couple of laps where you wondered how he was feeling front tyre-wise, sort of regained form, but they've both slotted into a pace now, haven't they, Kelso? And you just feel like Piqueras is thinking, right, I'm not going to win this. What I'll do is ride right behind you, and on this corner, in about 3 laps' time, I will pounce. Thank you very much.
Yeah, biding his time. We know with Piqueras, he's just such a tactician. He'll get the most out of it, and he's so difficult to beat in a last lap battle. Although Joel's got an option if he's still his front tyre under him to maybe put a little bit of a gap into Piqueras. You can see he's put a bit of daylight in there as he exited the final turn.
Don't know what's happened in the group behind, but Carpe's dropped right to the back of it all of a sudden. Now Pini is up into 6th, having an excellent ride, the young Italian, on the number 94. You just see in the middle, ahead of Furasato, with Carpe having dropped back. Maybe feeling the pace somewhat. Let's not forget, he is a rookie. Like Rueda, a rookie and junior GP champion in the same year. That was a little bit wide. We lost him behind the action that was going on in the battle for second, but just starting to, those wider lines start telling you when you're starting to feel it a little bit with your tyres.
Yeah, although Pini, personal best last time around, he was back into the 44-second range with a 44.9. Only 2 tenths off Rueda. You've got to say, for the rookie, that's an impressive ride to this point. I think he's got his sights set on Fernandez and Yamanaka up front.
This was the move. Late move. Two late moves.
2 for 1.
A bog-off deal for Guido Pini. He really did buy the first one, didn't he? And that second one, I think, was a bit of a bonus as he went through. We saw a lot of that in the rookies, I will say. Wherever Pini was on the track, there was action. There was a talking point.
Yeah, he's aggressive. He likes to ride really close to the rear wheel of the man in front. But yeah, he's had a few harem-scarem moments throughout his junior GP and rookie's career. But yeah, he's steadying things up. Good team he's in with Impact GP, and I think he could be the surprise contender as the season progresses. Munoz signed there to deliver for them, but at the moment, Pini's looking... certainly, he's beginning to flourish inside that garage.
Well, Munoz has only got 10 points for that 6th place in Qatar. Pini currently has 11 and could be about to pick up another 10 here today. So, you know, that is impressive. This is 25 for a win, 20 for second, 16 for third, 13 for 4th place, then 11 for 5th, 10 for 6th, and so on, all the way through to 15th, where Tachkon Boisserie still sits in the last point-scoring position. Eddie O'Shea, Noah Detmiller and Adrian Cruces all doing battle just outside the points.
Yeah, Scott's still got a chance at the top 10 here with the Lunetta, Peroni, Ogden, Ralston battle. They're all together there, so yeah, over this last lap and a half, hopefully Scott can get himself inside the top 10.
When you start that far back, complicated. You open yourself up to all kinds of the melees that are going on, but you also, it just makes life hard. That's why when Binder came here and won from the back of the grid, yes, he had pace that weekend, and things did open up a little bit for him on the day. But it's a huge task and a tall order to do.
Yeah, difficult track to overtake on a big bike. You always think of Moto3, there's a lot of opportunities, but it was impressive when you think back to the Binder last to first performance. We've seen it since then with Pedro Acosta, Pitley into first, but yeah, the days of that, especially when you're battling the likes of Rueda, not so easy to do anymore.
Keras going to make the move. Here he is. Well, I thought it was going to be a lap later than this. So as Jose Antonio Rueda comes to the line, last lap time for the leaders. And Piqueras takes charge from Kelso. Has he got something left in? Is Kelso going to attack back? He needs to bite down here, Kelso, and just go for it. Piqueras has made that move, but Kelso's got to show him something on this last lap. Jose Antonio Rueda out front on the top left of your picture. He's going to win this race barring a disaster. Oh, I've just seen him. He's outside the 44s for the first time since, I think, the opening lap.
What is going on?
Oh, here comes Kelso. That's great to see. Kelso, that he has been stronger, hasn't he?
Yep.
On that corner, over the top through turn 5, and Kelso takes over in second.
He actually came from a long way back as he approached turn 4. I thought he's too far
Yellow
back.
flag sector 4.
He got a run, whether he's got a little bit more front tyre steering, perhaps.
You knew that's happening, don't you, from Piqueras? However much you try and close the door, Piqueras was always coming through. Kelso needed to make that life a little bit harder for him there. Has Kelso got anything to attack Piqueras, who is a really late breaker? He's so much quicker through the fast corners, Kelso.
Crash ready O'Shea on the final lap, so that's a disappointing end to his weekend. But has Joel got anything left here? He's got more turning for sure.
Yeah, he does. He does every single time when he's coming around. So has he got anything that he can conjure something up towards the final corner? Meanwhile, top left, Jose Antonio Rueda's just already in those fast corners now. The group chasing these two is coming back to them. So any collision, they run a bit wide, they're ready to pounce. Rueda to the final corner is going to win this from pole position to perfection. For Jose Antonio Rueda into the final corner. Piqueras is so strong on the brakes. Surely no chance for Kelso. Trying to carry the corner speed, trying to slingshot her. Rueda wins in front of the home crowd, and it's going to be Angel Piqueras taking second. Joel Kelso is third across the line. Then Adrian Fernandez takes fourth, with Yamanaka in fifth, Furusato sixth. Guido Pini takes seventh place, with Carpe back in eighth. That, Michael, was an absolute dominant masterclass from Jose Antonio Rueda.
Absolute annihilation of the Moto3 field. Takes the championship lead, and in such style. You've got to say he is building a campaign here. He's certainly become my favourite over the last few rounds, although Piqueras, he relinquishes the championship lead, but he lives to fight another day.
Jose Antonio Rueda bouncing back from that heartbreak back in Qatar. What a way to do it in front of his home fans. We'll have all the reaction to that Moto3 dominant performance after the break.
Right, so that is the end of Moto3. Rueda, I believe it is, has come in first, with second being Piqueras and third is Kelso. Fernandez is in fourth, with Yamanaka in fifth. Furusato in sixth. Pini in seventh. Eighth is Carpe. Woolstone is ninth. And Peroni is in 10th. Now, I'm not as good as reading out all of the names as Joshua is, but you can see on the timing screens there all of the names, and it's just coming up shortly is Moto2 in about half an hour's time, so we will be back on air for that as well. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. Please join us in half an hour's time. I believe we should be on air around 11 or 11, one of the two. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.